We have reports that John Kelly is set to decide whether Steve Bannon should stay or go. That's the chief of staff talking about Steve Bannon. What would the White House need for a reset? To former Bush 43 spokesperson Mercedes Schlapp and former Trump deputy campaign manager David Bossie. Mercedes, I start with you. This Axios story, and again, we're quoting a single source, but it appears to be moving the markets here, and that's why we're giving it some credence. That John Kelly may fire Bannon imminently at any time. And one of the things in this story that you should know, Trump suspecting Bannon of leaking is what it says. Your reaction, Mercedes?
Well, I think Steve Bannon played an important role during the campaign. He obviously understood what the plight of so many Americans in middle America were experiencing. I think that going from a campaign to a White House is a very different ballgame. Obviously, when the person becomes the story, when the person or staffer becomes a distraction, it's very difficult for the president to be able to voice and talk about his agenda. And so I think it's for General Kelly to decide what the future of Bannon and where that will go. I think that the key and the concern for some conservatives will be that there needs to ensure that there is that balance between what they call the globalist faction in the White House and those that focus on economic nationalism. And so where Bannon has been that voice. And I think that's going to be the balance that General Kelly will need to find.
But, David, there's another kind of breakdown here as well. Bannon, very important to Trump's base here. What impact would a Bannon exit have on the campaign, on the White House, on policy, the agenda?
Well, first of all, I certainly hope that these rumors, which have been circulating for, obviously quite some time, are not true. However, Steve Bannon understands that everyone who works there works at the pleasure of the president. And so there are good days and bad days, and we'll have to see where this plays out today.
Right.
Steve Bannon is somebody who understands what the American people were looking for last November. And he understood, like the president. See, the president understands clearly where the American people are, and why he won the election was talking to those Rust Belt workers in Pennsylvania, Michigan, Wisconsin, Florida, North Carolina, Ohio, Iowa,
and all over the country, frankly.
All over that's right. All over the country, where we won in places that Republicans hadn't won since the 80s. And
exactly.
Steve understands that message.
Fast forward. I mean, we're in a situation now where he may be gone. And this fellow, known for publishing the Clinton Cash book, as an editor of Breitbart, he was, a hard right luminary, well known by the base. And you just have to ask yourself the question, the president's base has always seemed rock solid, but is it really, Mercedes?
I think that the president's base is rock solid. I think they stand with the president. They feel that there's these unfair attacks coming from the left. I think that they realize that the president is under attack from all levels, from the Democrats and the liberal media. And so I think that what is happening is that the left media has taken a force against Steve Bannon and anyone who serves the president. I mean, to the point that you've had even a TV host come out and call all those people who support Trump a racist. This goes back to the deplorable comments where they basically said that anyone who supported Trump was deplorable. That has been an insult to those people who have supported Donald Trump.
Well, that's absolutely true. Yeah, you talked about, the assault on Trump. There are weekly magazines taking the Charlottesville controversy on and causing their own controversies. Some on the right saying these go too far. But take a look here. Look at that New Yorker picture, The Economist. Mercedes, I mean, these are amazing to me. So basically, they're putting the president together with KKK. They're putting those in the same sentence. Mercedes, well, let me go to you, David. How can the president push back against this media narrative?
Well, it's been a very difficult road because the mainstream media has created this situation by continuously harping on the president. And instead of trying to come together to heal, which is what the president, I think, has been trying to do. First, I think the president can use his bully pulpit to say that 99.9% of the American people are inherently good. And the people who showed up, the haters who showed up in Charlottesville, on both sides, and of course it was led by this neo-Nazi organization and organizers who are reprehensible to all of us. That's what the president, I think, should do, is talk about the economic populism that he can do.
The president had two very strong statements when the Charlottesville incident happened. You know, it's interesting because the media never felt that the president had said enough. They were never satisfied. I go back to Jared Kushner's opinion piece in The Observer back in 2016 when he said, and Jared, as you know, he's a grandson of a Holocaust survivor. He basically said, my father-in-law is not anti-Semitic. He's not a racist.
Right.
These are people who know the president, as David does as well, that the fact is that the president has condemned the white supremacists, but for the media, they're going to keep pushing this narrative. And if the Trump supporters and the Republicans don't push back, I think it's just going to be more problematic.
But here's the problem today. You've got to turn the page.
Yes.
You've got to move on. You've got to not just solidify the base. You have to bring everybody on board. Why? Because what's at stake here? What is at stake? Tax reform? Getting a budget deal? There's a lot at risk here. How do they do that?
When there is these moments in our history, and I mean you look at 9/11, or you look at what happened at Ferguson, you look at different moments, that's when a president needs to pause. That's when a president needs to bring groups together, black ministers, evangelical leaders, talk about these issues that are burdening some of these cities. The race relations is a complicated matter. It's not solved overnight. This is a generational problem.
We're going to have to hop out of this in a second. I just want to get you in on this same. How do they come back? How do they rebuild?
Let me just say this. I think what Mercedes was just about to say is if the president can get his tax reform package together and through Congress and lead this economy into a vibrant stage which has opportunity for all, it raises all Americans. And I think that the strife that we see in the cities can be helped by a great economy. I think we all agree on that, and that's what the president is focused on, and that's what he's going to continue to
But you got to handle the issue. Charlottesville's not going to go away. You've got to talk about it. We need healing in this nation, and that's what the president needs to do.
Wow, what a great panel. Thanks to both of you for coming on.
Thank you.
Great job, Dave and Mercedes.